Hello, hello, hello. Sarah here. Welcome back to another episode of Your Fucking Welcome. Today, I want to talk to you about something that I think is going to be fairly quick, who knows, but really important. And I'm sure I say that most episodes, but I want you to know that I really mean it when I say that, because I always make it my goal to come to you and to have episodes revolving around something that felt like, again, a huge light bulb moment for me. And so I just want to reinforce to you that this podcast is essentially like a live diary, if you will, right? Like it's an audio diary of like my journal of the things that I feel like I'm waking up to and the things that are really meaningful and important for me in terms of my own growth and my own healing and my own success. And so please know that I'm sharing them with you, really, really, really hoping that they're just as impactful for you, if not more, as they have been for me. And so yesterday or 2 days ago, I was talking to one of my coaches, and she said something to me that I felt was so profound and so important. And the way she said it, right? Because I've said the same type of thing to myself or clients in a slightly different way, but the way that she delivered this, I felt like was so important. She said that in the void, right? When you are feeling the void, when you are feeling the emptiness of something, right? Allow where you're going, allow what you ultimately know you're meant for and what is coming to you, allow that to be the comfort. And I want to bring that up today for several different reasons. But number one, all of us, right? All of us, regardless of, who we are, what we do, and what we're struggling with, we all have our coping mechanisms, right? Some people might turn to food. Some people might turn to alcohol. Some people might turn to sex. Some people might turn to work. Like there are a million different things, right? Us as human beings, we turn to cope when we get a little bit uncomfortable. Shopping, right? Like there's a million different examples that I could essentially give you. But it's just like our natural kind of way of being that when something becomes uncomfortable, we want to escape that discomfort, right? Like how many of us are sitting there and being like, from a young age, being like, no, I'm going to lean into this, right? Like, no, of course not. Most of us are trying to escape the pain, move through the pain, like get out of the pain so that we can feel good again. And again, sometimes it's those temporary fixes. Sometimes it's bypassing it completely, right? But all we're all seeking is comfort, essentially, right? And so when we think about the fact that we turn to, again, comfort when we're feeling uncomfortable, right? We think about it and we don't realize how powerful it can be to take that moment to be still, to take that moment and turn the distractions off, to take that moment and not do what you would normally do, right? To, again, as that coping mechanism, and instead turn to the thing that you know you're meant for, right? So as an example, let's say you are talking to a guy, right? Let's just say, because I'm just talking about my own examples here and kind of giving you a vague version. So let's say you're talking to a guy and it's not right for you. It's not a great situation. And we've all been in those spots where we're not into the person, but we kind of allow them to text us or whatever it is, because guys, it kind of gives you that hint of like something, right? It gives you that taste of something, especially when you don't have anything else. It can feel better to have a little bit of something, right, than nothing at all. And so again, we stick around, we allow that person to stick around and maybe text us and maybe, again, go on the date, whatever it is, or, allow them essentially to hang around in maybe a way that can be toxic sometimes because we don't want to feel the void. And the turning to that person is the comfort in that moment. And again, you can feel empty in that moment, right? In the spot between where you are now and where you want to be, it can feel empty. It can feel like a struggle. It can feel like, again, that void. And the fact that you can, again, like consciously and intentionally practice the act of rehearsing your future, essentially, feeling into what you know is on its way to you, feeling into the love, the whatever, the positive feeling, the success that you know you're capable and worthy of, and you know is your ultimate truth. It's just not here yet. And just thinking about this, if I'm thinking about it in terms of business, right? it can be one of those situations where, let's say you're having a month, a couple months, whatever, where like launches have failed and maybe, money's not as great of a situation as you'd like for it to be. It's so easy in that moment to, again, freak out. It's so easy in that moment to make yourself wrong for so many different things instead of recognizing and remembering what is possible for you. And that personally has been a really big thing for me over the past couple years. Like, it hasn't been a thing in a while, but those moments where I would have, like, again, a temporary flash of panic about money or a freak out about, oh my God, this launch didn't go that well. And like, I would start like beating myself up about it and all those kind of things. There would be so much comfort in, okay, but like I can do this next week and I can create this really quickly and I can make this amount of money and I can have this success in just a few moments if I want to, right? Truly, like I can anchor into that feeling and know what positives and what possibilities are on their way to me, right? I can anchor myself in that truth. And I don't know if I've shared this with you guys on the podcast, but I was talking about this with the girls at Miraval. But yellow is a really big, like, important color for me. And I don't know if I can fully explain it to you, but when I think of love, and that's not just like romantic love, it's like love, like your launch going well. It's the love of your friends. It's like love in any capacity, loving yourself. When I think about love, I think of it as this like bright light, this yellow light, and this like warmth feeling. And I've played around with this feeling, and I've played around with all of this like over the past year and a half of like doing all of this deep healing work and all that kind of stuff. And it's hard to explain exactly because, again, it's a feeling. But if I'm having a moment where I am feeling, again, in the void about something, I can practice and I can intentionally turn to that feeling of yellow, that feeling of love, and that feeling of warmth. And it's not that it's just because of like, okay, you're thinking about like a romantic situation, for example, and the person you want to be with, or how that relationship would be. That's part of it. That can be part of it anyway. But when I can access that yellow, I feel as though I can do anything. I can accomplish anything. Like, I am at the top of the world. I don't have a fear in the world. I don't have a worry in the world. I have every sense of confidence and certainty in what I want to do and how I want to do things. And the thought that I couldn't have what I wanted in any capacity is just laughable. And I don't always feel that way, but I feel that way more and more. And I've really trained myself to be able to access it as much as possible. One of my coaches reminded me once that she was like, don't forget here. And I think I said this on the podcast, but like, don't forget that it takes 5 seconds essentially to come back home. It takes 5 seconds to come back to the yellow, right? And like, I don't know, I just think that's so important to like, have that, whatever it is to you, whether it's a color, whether it's a place, whether it's a smell, whether it's just a feeling, maybe it's a memory, whatever it is for you, being able to shift your, again, energy and your mindset and your focus into feeling the feelings that you want to feel and allowing that, again, to comfort you, especially in those moments where you are feeling like you're struggling or you're feeling like you're in the in-between or the void. And the natural instinct is to, again, turn to those maybe less healthy coping mechanisms, right? And again, maybe that's just being sad. Maybe that's just being stressed out. You're used to feeling stressed out and anxious. Maybe it's instead turning to the feeling of remembering how it would feel to access the knowing and the trust that like you get to have what you want, and the trust that like that is on its way to you. Again, I feel like you've probably heard that in a million different ways before, and I know I have too. But those words applied to it for whatever reason, the way that it was said. And I think this happens for all of us with all different things. We can hear something a million times, or we can hear it for 10 years. And then the 10th year and plus one day, then all of a sudden it finally clicks for us. We understand what somebody actually meant. And that was just a big thing for me. Again, not that I didn't get it before, but the recognition of the fact that like when I am in that moment, the comfort can actually be the good feeling instead of things that, again, are probably a lot less healthy and a lot less serving of where I want to go and who I want to be, right? We can access that yellow. And so again, I wanted to remind you of that because whatever you are struggling with, whatever it might be, right? Something big is possible for you. You know that, right? The thing that you've always wanted is within your grasp. Maybe it's going to happen tomorrow. Maybe it's going to happen 10 years from now. But like my hope for you is that you know the ultimate truth of what you want and where you're going and what you deserve and what you're capable of, whether that's with money or whether that's with relationships. And again, I just want to remind you that you can access that, the knowing, right? To push you through and to, again, give you comfort in the toughest moments. And the other thing that I wanted to say, I was going to say this earlier and I forgot, is another conversation that I've been having lately. I mean, this tends to always happen where I get fired up about something and, we're talking about it with all the people. But I think that I just want to remind you, like I said earlier, nobody wants to be uncomfortable, right? But the growth that happens in any area of your life, it's uncomfortable, right? The workouts, right, they're pushing you extra. The moments that you fail a launch or something, you have a breakup, but then because you've experienced it before that it leads to the better launch or it leads to the better relationship. Those moments, they can be really uncomfortable and they can really suck sometimes. But I think when it comes to just like general day-to-day life and mindset work, however you want to say that, I just want to remind you how important it is to do your best from time to time. It's not always going to work or it's not always going to happen, but do your best from time to time to lean into the discomfort instead of trying to escape it. Because I know so often I'll have clients who the same issue keeps coming up and then, explaining, let's say, for example, like where mindset work or where something could be dove into a little bit deeper, they don't want to go there. And trust me, I do the same thing. And it's natural for all of us, but it's so much more uncomfortable to keep struggling with the problem so often than, again, distract yourself or to do something else. And like one of my biggest things lately is just the fact that I think all of us, let alone with so many of us with online businesses, but I think all of us in this day and age, we're so addicted to our devices. And I know I've said that a million times and I won't stop saying it, but we're so addicted to not only our devices, but distraction. How often are you just in a room with nothing going on and you're not doing anything? You're not watching TV. You're not listening to music. You're not on your phone. You're not actually doing something like cutting up vegetables. Like you're literally just sitting there. And I feel like that creates, again, so much anxiety and so much of our struggles. But I really had a moment like not long ago where I was really just like, I don't want to be somebody who can't sit still with themselves. I don't want to be somebody who can't stand being in my own company without a distraction. And so I say that because if you haven't lately, or if you've never taken the time to just intentionally just sit with yourself, right? Sometimes I'll even have to cross my hands so that I'm not like grabbing something, like whatever it is. I'll literally sit there with like my hands crossed so that I am just still and I am just distraction free. And it's one of those things where like the first 5-10 minutes, I like want to jump out of my skin. And not long after that, such like lucid clarity and ideas and inspiration, they always come through. And this sense of calm, this sense of yellow, that peace washes over me. And so I say all of that because I want to remind you here that so often the peace that you actually want, it's there, but you're not allowing it because you're escaping the discomfort way too early, right? Or you're distracting yourself and then you can never get to the peace that you want. And so I just want to encourage you to remember how important it is to lean into discomfort from time to time. And again, it's not always fun. It's not always the most enjoyable thing, but it does help you and make you grow and ultimately get you to where you want to be. And I promise you, the discomfort that you're going to feel in those moments is so ultimately worth it. And I don't know a single person that like I respect their success or the life that they have, that like they haven't done this hard work. And I am grateful for every moment that I have, cried over the past year and a half. And there have been many of them, but the breakthroughs again that have come and the ways in which I've healed and the ways in which I've gotten to know myself, all of those moments, no matter how uncomfortable, were worth every second of that discomfort for where it feels as though it's pushed me and it is pushing me. And I really want that for you. I really want you to just to stop escaping the growth because you're uncomfortable, or escaping what's possible for you because it's easier to lean back onto some distraction, right? Be the person who can sit still with themselves, and be the person that is so intent on growing and healing and being better ultimately that they're willing to sit in the place that so many other people are not willing to. Okay? I hope that was helpful, and I'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye.